Nemo Radio is on the air.
A, B, C. A, always, B, B, C, closing. Always be closing. Always be closing.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Put that coffee down. Coffee's for closers only. Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
Hey, it's John Nemo. Welcome back to another episode of Nemo Radio. And I was just handed a gift. And it's not the kind of gift you would normally want to receive. I got an angry email. And it's a gift because it brought back so many core and key business lessons. And so it's so interesting because the great irony in this, and I don't know if the person intended it this way, was I actually sent out an email to my list about what to do when you get an angry email. And the person responded to my email about, hey, here's how to handle upset people, angry emails, by writing me back an angry email. So the first part was I talked about how to deal with critics, right? The email I sent out to my list, and about how one time I sent out an email with some LinkedIn tips or something, and the person wrote back. They took the time to write back in 72-point font. So they had to go into their email, whatever it was, email tool, highlight the word, and then change the font to 72 points, and they wrote F off as the reply to my email with LinkedIn tips. So anyway, I had a whole thing about that and lessons about it. And so this person today writes back to that email and says, basically, hey, they were upset, and I'm not going to name names or anything like that and give away details, but it was basically like, hey, I showed up for your online session on this date and you weren't there. And I realized after they said that, oh man, I think I may have forgotten to alert this person and others that I wasn't going to be live that day. I thought I did, but maybe I didn't, right? So, and then also the person kind of doubled down and was like, and by the way, I bought one of your courses. And it was really frustrating because I didn't get the course right away, and then your course was so boring, I literally fell asleep during the first module. And then I was like, it's so funny because then they have this polite signature, like all this, and I'm like, you just wrote me a really nasty email. And so what I did was, I was like, this is a gift, because what a perfect opportunity to remember this core lesson I learned from How to Win Friends and Influence People from Dale Carnegie, right? And he talks about when someone's criticizing you, don't get into an argument. He's like, literally, you cannot win an argument. A person convinced against their will is of the same opinion still. Even if you convince someone against their will, they're going to keep the same opinion. There's a whole thing Carnegie talks about. Arguments are just a nightmare. You can't win, right? Even if you win the argument, you lose it because the other person feels bad and loses face and, feels defeated and whatever. So he talks about when you're wrong, go and admit it. He says, so go ahead and say about yourself all the derogatory things the other person is thinking or wants to say or intends to say, and say them all before that person has a chance to say them. The chances are 100 to 1 that a generous, forgiving attitude will be taken and your mistakes will be minimized, right? Because you're just falling on the sword and you're saying all the stuff about, the mistake or whatever you made. And of course, your first reaction, and my first reaction to this angry email, is to, get upset and get mad and get emotional and defend myself and how dare you and you're attacking me and da-da-da-da-da and why didn't you this or why didn't you that? And so instead I just wrote back and I just said, hey, name of person. First, I'm so sorry you didn't get a heads up about, the live webinar. I must have made a mistake and not alerted you that I wasn't going to be there. And then I said the thing that they're thinking about that I'll just admit it, is that I know the most valuable resource we all have is time, and I'm sorry some of yours was wasted as a result of a miscommunication on my end, right? Because I'm sure they're thinking that, hey, man, I wasted my time. I showed up, you weren't there. So I own that right away. And I said, second, I'm sorry that this online course of mine put you to sleep. And then I did a little self-deprecation. I said, maybe I have a future in sleep aids instead of online courses. And then I did a laugh out loud emoji, right? I'm just gonna have fun with it. And then I said, obviously, I'm happy to refund the amount you spent on the course since you didn't find it helpful. I'd also be happy to give you one of my other online courses for free as a gesture of goodwill. And I linked to the online courses. And then I basically said, let me know how you'd like to proceed. And hey, if you have any issues falling asleep tonight, I know a good remedy, right? LOL. And the idea being I'm not going to let this tip me over. I'm not going to get emotional. I'm not going to attack the person. I'm going to say all the derogatory things about myself they're already thinking, and then I'm going to try to make it right, and that's something that you and I all appreciate as an angry consumer. And, when you and I run into customer service nightmares, and I've done plenty of podcasts about that, it's so frustrating when you're upset and angry and the other person, you don't feel listened to, you don't feel appreciated, you don't feel validated, and then the other person doesn't really do anything to offer to make it better. And so this is an opportunity for me to kind of practice what I preach, which is, okay, is there valid criticism in that angry email I got? Yeah, there is. Like, I screwed up. I didn't alert this person that I wasn't going to be doing my live webinar on that day. Yeah, I wasted their time. Okay, fair. I'm going to own that. I'm going to admit that. I'm not going to defend it. I'm not going to make excuses. I'm just going to be like, yeah, I screwed that up. I'm really sorry. I know your time is valuable. I'm sorry I wasted your time. And then obviously they were mad about my course and thought it was boring and, quote, put them to sleep. So then I'm going to have fun with it and be self-deprecating, because that's what I love to do. Is like, man, there's no bigger critic in the world of me than me, for good or for bad. And I'm happy to, poke fun at myself, because I just, that's how I am. So I poked fun at it and was like, hey, maybe I have a future in, providing sleep aids, And then I tried to make it right by saying, hey, I'm happy to refund your money, right? I have that with all my online courses anyway, a 30-day risk-free money-back guarantee. Now, technically, this person is outside the money-back guarantee, the 30-day guarantee, so I could technically be like, well, I'm not going to offer a refund. He's outside the rules, outside the guarantee. But I'm not going to do that, right? I want to try to win the long game, and I know that if I offer him a refund and say, I'm sorry I put you to sleep, I'm happy to refund your money, even though we're past the deadline, I'll make an exception. And then I'm going to offer them a free course, right? Because long term, I want to win that person back, or at the very least, have them be neutral. Like, you don't want to create critics, right? There's enough of those online anyway. You don't want to create critics. You don't want to create enemies. And when it's easy for you to do, so in my situation, giving this person another one of my online courses, right? It's not something where I have to go and spend a bunch of time and money. I've already created the course. Sure, I don't get the revenue for whatever course that person picks, but long term, that's a good bet. That's a good investment for me in marketing, customer service, and lead generation. For that, maybe that'll win that person back. And if not, that's okay. They'll go away feeling like, well, I got my money back and he's a nice guy about it. Okay, I guess I can't really hate on him, right? As opposed to, I have nothing better to do. I'm going to go on the rampage and trash people, trash this person online all the time. So it's just, I called it a gift at the beginning of the podcast because that's what it is. Like, every experience is an opportunity to learn something. Every sales call, every, customer service interaction. And I think too, we're in an era where there's so much anger. And everyone's angry. I'm angrier. Like, we're all upset. We're all mad. And we all, like, on a daily basis have so much frustration with customer service. Like, I could name 10 things today alone, right, that I'm frustrated about. And why don't they do this? And why don't they do that? And why don't they take care of me? And I think those are those lessons that you and I, that's the beautiful thing. If you own your own business, if you're a coach, consultant, even if you work inside an environment, like, you get to choose how to treat people, and you get to choose to, like, totally stand out against, 99.9% of other businesses by treating people well. And so that's something where I can get back to that person and they're going to be shocked. I mean, they're going to be surprised. They're not expecting probably me to email back that kind of thing. And okay, here, let me see. Oh, they didn't write back yet. I was going to see if I had a great real-time example. I don't. They haven't written back yet, but they're probably sleeping because they tried to watch my course. So when they wake up, maybe they'll reply. But again, that's what he talks about in the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. He says, remember, other people may be totally wrong, but they don't think so, right? He says, don't condemn people. Any fool can do that. Try to understand people. There's a reason they think and act the way they do. If you can figure out that reason, then you have the key to that person's actions, right, and their personality. And that's what he talks about. He says, success in dealing with people depends on a sympathetic grasp of the other person's viewpoint. So I'm trying to get into that person's head a little bit and go, okay, they feel like their time was wasted because I didn't show up. They had a bad experience with my online course, and they're going to let me know about it. They're not happy, and they're going to sit back there with their arms folded. And how am I going to react, right? And maybe they're expecting me to blow them off or ignore them or write back an angry rebuke, and here I'm just being self-deprecating, saying all the negative things about myself they already are thinking, and then offering to try to make it right to the degree I feel comfortable doing. So it was just a great lesson, great little gift. I knew I wanted to do a quick episode about this because, man, we get these opportunities every single day. Every time you interact with someone. The other thing, too, is this person cared enough to actually write me. And actually, that's such a great thing. Like, people care enough about your business or your product or your service to complain or criticize. Like, they're paying attention. They actually were showing up to my webinar. Like, what a gift that is. Like, some stranger on the internet wanted to hear what I had to say. Like, whoa, that's cool. Like, don't take that for granted either, and really understand it. So there you go. Hope you found that helpful. It's so funny to me, even though we're in the year 2022, 2023, 21st century, basically, a book from 1936 still has all the keys. Like Dale Carnegie, How to Influence and Influence People. It's still everything. It's still my Bible for customer service, sales, marketing, because people don't change. How we market to people change, the tools change, the technology changes, but how humans react, our personalities, emotions, wiring, psychology, none of that will ever change, not even for the next 100 years. So there you go. Hope you found it helpful, and we'll see you soon on another episode.